Welcome to MicdinPod. We are your hosts, Jeremy and Val.
That's me.
We are not experts, just parents of 2 college athletes and 2 in youth sports.
On this podcast, we're bringing together athletes, parents, and coaches to talk honestly about youth sports, recruiting, pressure, identity, and everything in between.
Thanks for being locked in with MicdinPod. Today we have 2 experts in the field of, basically field hockey is their field. And they're not only experts, but they're our friends. You know what I mean? Like I consider my friends. Val grew up with them and played field hockey with them. And let me give you, I do a deep dive. This is what I do. I do a deep dive on everybody, right? And I didn't know, like I know them, but I guess I didn't know them. You know what I mean? Because let me start. I'm going to start with Carrie Wernig. That's our first guest. She played at Bellingham High School, three sport star, field hockey, basketball, and softball. She's a Bellingham Hall of Famer. She went on to play at PC for field hockey. 4-year starter, Big East All-Rookie team. She's two-time Big East All-Star, which is crazy. That's like the Big East is legit, you know. 13. Then she came after playing. She coached her high school. She went back home, coached her high school for 13 years. She has 3 kids, 2 in college. 1 is playing Division I field hockey right now. And then she also has 1 coming up, another one. The other 2 play hockey. Am I correct?
Correct.
All right. The other 2 play hockey. That's our first one. So a warm welcome for Carrie.
Thank you.
Our second guest, Melissa Bordieri. Another.
Oh, you've been butchering that out. Just say
It's
Bodie,
because it's
okay?
Bodie. You know what I mean? It's Bodie. I
Lord.
can't say Bordieri. It's Bodie. Listen, it's Bordieri, but we call her Bodie. So everybody here, all the people watching, we call her Bodie. You know, another 3-sport athlete. This time at Mansfield High School. Same thing: basketball, field hockey, and softball. A beast on the field. She's the all-time leading scorer at Mansfield for the season and for a career. She then went on to play at Northeastern, crushed it at Northeastern. So we have 2 Division I monsters right here for you guys to listen to, with a ton of information for you guys. She's a New Agenda Northeast Hall of Fame at Northeastern. Back-to-back Division I Final Four championships for junior and senior year. That's crazy. Then she came back home. She going to Foxboro. She coached at Foxboro for 25 years as the varsity field hockey coach. 7 Elite 8 appearances. 1 Division II South championship, sectional championship. 5 Hockomock League titles. 289 career wins. She's been a Division II Coach of the Year, and now she's the director of the youth field hockey program. She's the mom of 2, and one of her sons plays college football. Another warm welcome from Bodie.
So I just want to say I'm so excited for you both to be here. And this, like, obviously, I played with Carrie, and just have known her to be like an amazing athlete and human. And she was actually our our oldest first coach. I was determined for our oldest to play field hockey and at least be exposed to it, even if she didn't pick it long term. And so but having you both here is like kind of a full circle, because it was intentional for us to put our oldest in field hockey. And then Cameron also went, when Carrie started her camp, our girls were probably like 5 years old when they started the camp.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a 4-day camp. I think initially, Carrie, right? Like, do you have like
No, it's 5 days now.
5? Yeah. So it was a 4-day camp when they started. And I wanted them to play because I thought it would be one of the few times that I knew that they would have a female coach. And I knew Carrie to just be not only an amazing athlete, but a good human. And that she would be a really great example of somebody with grit, and give the permission to have that grit on the field and still be a good person off the field. And I think sometimes like our daughters and maybe even other girls struggle with that. Like how to just like the permission to be aggressive and to be like out there and just playing sport really hard and then still get off and be a big good human. And then same thing with Bodie when she had our second daughter in high school. And I could hear Bodie. I heard Bodie this fall when I was like walking at the high school. I could hear her, yeah, just in it at the kids, and I love that. And before, our daughter even played for her, like I just loved that, and I saw her relationships with the girls and how much she loved the girls, but also how intentional you were with being so direct with them, and could show that both of you could show that multifaceted side of yourselves with coaching and with a sport that you played well and loved. And I really wanted my girls to be exposed to that, and it helped develop them and it helped them as humans. So it was really important for me to have you guys here because I appreciate that, and I want to highlight those relationships and just how like tough you guys were as what I saw as coaches and as players, but then like how great you are as humans. And I don't know. I think that's I think there's a lot of great coaches there, but piloting that balance and being able to do that and then show the people that you coach that you can be both of those things is, because we see bad sportsmanship, and I know that bad sportsmanship a lot of times is, the bad side of humanity, but not always direct reflection of who people are, you know what I mean, in that moment when they're playing aggressively and they're passionate about something. But I think you guys balance that really well, and it's so I'm really happy that you're here.
Thanks for having us.
So you guys are monsters on the field. Do you coach your children and your athletes to be have that same grit, that to come out and play the way you guys used to play?
What was that, Jeremy?
I think so. Yeah. I think that it's funny you should use the word grit because we talk about grit a lot at Foxboro. I think that a lot of times we end up falling back and relying on that grit when we are down in the game, or maybe I don't have as many skilled athletes on the field at one time, that I really need. So I think that a lot of times when we need to dig deep, and we talk about this a lot, it's to find that grit. My assistant coach, Sue, daily loves calling it dirt dogs, like really just finding that, dig deep. And what you may be lacking in a skill versus another opponent or a player in front of you, you can make up for with just, with that grit. So I definitely coach that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I grew up with two brothers, and I don't know, my dad was just such a big part of like going outside and shooting hoops, or like always staying active, and
That's awful.
I just like always had to win. So I've like mellowed out big time since I've had kids, but my first like 10 years of coaching, I kind of feel bad for them a little bit.
Did you guys grow up with that? Because I know, Melissa, you grew up with an older brother and used to play hockey with your older brother. And Carrie, you just singing out.
My two older brothers. I have an older brother and a twin, and we the three of us played. And I have two older sisters. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, I have a
wow.
twin brother and an older brother and two older sisters, and so me and my twin are the youngest. And honestly, my athletic career started playing ice hockey. I played ice hockey as an 8-year-old with my twin brother, and my older brother was in the same league, and I was one of two girls in the league because they didn't have girls leagues at the time. And my father wanted me to do figure skating with my sister, and I said I didn't want to. And my mother was like, "She's gonna play ice hockey if that's what she wants, and you're gonna make sure she does." To my dad, and so that was it. I played ice hockey until I was like 13. And then I pivoted into, once we got to the age of like checking and I became a peewee, it wasn't fun. It's kind of the moment
What do
we
you
were kind of
mean?
talking about beforehand.
What do you mean it wasn't fun?
What? because checking started. So being a girl, at the time on the rink, I was the only girl. And it became not fun. It was, it's definitely the difference between, I was older, all the boys were older, and it became more physical, and I wasn't as strong. Once we got older, and it was a lot. And so, remember, it was a time when girls weren't playing ice hockey with, boys teams. And so, targeted, sure. Yeah, it was not fun. And I think at that point, I was getting older. I was in middle school, older in middle school at that point, and I started learning more about field hockey. We didn't have it in middle school at the time. You had to play when you're in high school. Like, we didn't have what we have now. So I pivoted, when I was in middle school and got, started doing like small things, like camps that the high school would have, but we didn't have any leagues or anything. And so we got to high school. So yeah, that's how it started for me. Same thing with Carrie. Like, when you grow up, with boys, like brothers, and it definitely, I think you have to have it in you though, Carrie, don't you think? Like, because I have sisters that weren't, that competitive, like in terms of athletics and that sort of thing. So I think but boys definitely, like, having brothers out there, like, brought it out, no doubt.
Okay.
So have you guys, have you changed how you are with sports since you became parents? Do you parent your kids in a different way than you coach? Or, I know, Carrie, you've coached your daughter, but how do you take your coaching style when it comes to your kids with sports, and how you are as a player?
I think Kaylee would probably say that I was a little bit tougher on her when I did coach her. I definitely didn't favor her. I was never the one to, like, she wouldn't get like more playing time, that type of stuff. But I'm always one to tell it like how it is. I can't fake things. So if, she's having a bad game, she would know it, but not in a bad way. But now, like, stepping back and not being her coach, I've kind of like let the coaches do the coaching, because that's my philosophy as a club owner, is like, parents, like, stop coaching from the sideline. So,
Big time.
and if she wants advice, then I'll give it to her. But if she's not looking for it, then I'll give her a pat on the back if she deserves it, or let her know, like, I've seen you play better.
If she deserves it, I love it.
Will she ask you for that? Have you, like, her, does she ask
Not
you for feedback, or do you?
not directly, but I can tell by the way she words things that she's looking for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say the same. It's funny. I've always said, like, having with my boys, and both of their parents being coaches, I think they've benefited and not benefited from it. It's kind of funny because being a coach, it's always, you can do better, or, it's if they come home and, kind of just annoyed or complaining, it kind of, I don't want to say it fell on deaf ears, but we were always like, do better,
Yeah.
That's on you. You can make the change. And so we've laughed about it, kind of saying, like, I wonder, have they benefited from it, or has it been kind of something that's annoying for them? But I think it's a benefit. Our kids, and I know Carrie's as well, are super, super coachable, probably because of parents being coaches. I think that has definitely, in my situation, I think it's lent itself to being very coachable, and I've seen Haley play. I've coached against her, so I know I've heard it. I know how coachable she is on the sidelines. So I think that probably has been a benefit for them.
I think I've seen a little pattern with some of our guests that, whether it's their orange moment or their parents, that if they're going through some trials and tribulations or something, their parents are mostly say, all right, you got to work. You got to get better. You got to do this. It's not about, let me go talk to the coach. or let me go talk to, it's not coddling. It's just like, hey, you got to work to get better. And I'm starting to see a pattern with some of these guests that this is how it is. And I feel that is a refreshing, you know what I mean? For field hockey parents, how are the field hockey parents? I see basketball a lot and flag football, and sometimes it can get crazy. The parents are a lot,
Yeah.
But how are the field hockey parents? Are they pretty?
We were field hockey parents. What are you talking about? Like,
I think, and Carrie, it'll be interesting to hear what you think, because I think at the high school level, parents tend to be okay. I think with field hockey, they don't tend to know the rules as much, so they don't know what to be mad at
Yeah.
because they don't know the rules. So they're not as on the sidelines like basketball. You like screaming at the refs and that sort of thing. I don't think that happens as much in field hockey at game time. Club, way different.
oh,
I think that, I don't know, maybe there's just more invested in it in club. What do you think, Carrie? Because I feel like when I was in coaching club, I felt like it could get really intense on the sidelines at club.
I've been at some pretty intense high school games.
Yeah, true.
well, I was gonna say, because we're putting out a poll, and every week we'll put out a poll question, just to see what our viewers on social media and questions. One of the question today was, should kids get equal time when they're in middle school? And right now the poll is looking that the answer is no. But the next week's question is, if you pay more, do you expect your kids to play more? And so, Melissa, do you think that's why, when you're saying investment, do you think that parents are like, I drove this far, I paid for a hotel, I
Nope.
paid for this, whatever the club fee is for them to play, that their expectation is more competitive from their kid, more playing time for the kid, and that's why the sidelines are like that?
Yeah. I mean, and not all
I
the
do too.
time, but I definitely think that has played into it a bit, when they are making an investment, and traveling and like you say, getting hotels and that sort of thing. You try your best to, kind of balance expectations for parents. I do. I'm very honest. And in high school too, because it's playing time is always the hardest. I mean, you guys, I think everybody knows that's always kind of the number one complaint is playing time. And I've always said one of the hardest things about coaching is subbing. I say it every year to at least a couple of players who I might not have had in the game as much as I would like to have them in the game, but just sometimes it just doesn't pan out that way, and maybe the game plan doesn't pan out that way, and so I'm very honest about it. But I do think that expectations from parents can differ if they're playing, particularly if they're paying for club and it coming into high school. I think there's an expectation there as well because they've done club.
Would the subbing be a big deal because you have deep benches? Because I feel like if I have a team, if I'm coaching a basketball team and I have 5 or 6 good players and then it drops off after that, subbing's not a problem. I'm just I'm gonna go with my guns. You know what I mean? So is it because your team is deep?
I don't know. It's both. It could be both. Teams that I've had that are deep that or not. I think usually it's if I don't have a deep bench, it's harder, but it's hard to balance. I feel like it's one of the harder parts for me anyway with coaching. I want to get everybody in. I know how, at least I've found that if they're there and they're doing the running and they're doing everything that I'm asking them to do, they deserve to get some playing time. It doesn't always happen in terms of maybe the minutes they want versus the minutes they get. Sometimes if I can't get somebody in at all, it bothers me. It does bother me because I know how that feels, and I know from a parent, I know how it feels as a parent. But at the end of the day, it's also, balancing what's best for the program. So that's the hardest I don't know. I think it's one of the harder parts of coaching is balancing that and balancing those expectations for players to understand that it's a realization you're not maybe as good as you think you are, or that we need, and that's hard. What do you think, Carrie?
I think from a because I haven't coached high school in quite a while, so I think from a club perspective, it's different because I choose, but it's cutting those kids is incredibly hard, or putting a kid on the B team versus the A team. That's the part I hate, and I tell them that all the time. Like, I'm a parent, I have a heart. Like, this is the hardest part of the job. But
Do you think that so when we thought about doing this podcast, it was a lot to have these conversations to bridge the gap, because we would say to our kids, like, hey, the first time you hear that, like, you need to step it up, or like you think you're working hard, and maybe you are, but like in comparison to what's needed on the field, like it's not adding up. You might you need to like watch film, whatever, do whatever they need to do. And I say that because I think that, like, if coaches actually had some coaches had like the real conversation, like, hey, listen, everyone isn't going to get it on the field, and sometimes it's a numbers game, not based on like your kid. And I think I recognize this more in college, but I think it applies to high school. Is different opponents require different things for a coach, right? Like there's a different matchup. So your kid might have played a ton the game before when speed was more necessary, but like in another game, size was more necessary, right? As a matchup. And parents don't always understand that or know that or recognize that. And so I wonder if that's a regular conversation coaches have with their players so they can relay that, or I don't think it should be a conversation for the coaches to have necessarily with the parents, but I think a lot of parents don't understand that can be like that's a huge factor. You know what I mean? If you scout another team and you look at the team and say, like, well, they're really fast and that's how they score their baskets or any of their goals, well, then you're going to put your fastest ones out there because they need to be able to compete the same way, or whatever the reason is. But like the matchups make a difference, or your player that has more endurance, that can last a whole game, knowing that this other team can do the same thing. And I think that parents don't always get that. They don't see that full picture of it because they're so hyper focused on their kid and their kid's emotion.
Yeah,
but
that probably didn't happen to you two because you guys never came off the field. But like, do you guys do you tell them, like, today you're not going to be playing as much because you might be going up against a bigger team, or this team is too fast. We're going to put in some faster kids. Do you guys communicate with your athletes about that?
I think it's a little different in field hockey than like basketball or like a football game as far as that goes. It is all about endurance in field hockey. So like, I probably have 3 or 4 players. I'm thinking of a specific age group that could last an entire game, but none of the rest can. They have to be subbed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying, Jeremy. Like, if you do have a game plan, I think parents lose sight maybe that there's actual, like, your game planning for specific. I think football in particular is what I'm thinking of, where it happens more. But I agree with Carrie, it's more endurance. There's not many players that will play 100% of the game and not have to get subbed, particularly if you're playing against a fast team. Like when we played Franklin, there was zero chance I had girls out there 100% that weren't getting subbed. It's just very, very fast. We have a meeting before the season starts, and that's, it's kind of an all-encompassing meeting of expectations, and kind of fundraising. That it's everything, a little bit of everything. And I always say, at the varsity level, it's not equal playing time. We compete for championships, and so I try my best to get all the girls in, but that is just, in a perfect world that would happen, but it's not. And so it's not equal playing time. I will talk to the girls individually. I don't really talk to the parents about their child's playing time unless they had a specific question directed at me. But I do my best to lay that groundwork kind of in a blanket statement at the beginning of the season, because I know it's not going to be equal playing time. There's going to be, every year there's somebody who might be really disappointed. And I hate that. It makes me feel bad. It really does. But at the end of the day, it's again, it kind of goes back to, well, what's best for the team. And like I said, when you're competing for state titles, you're competing for league championships and that sort of thing. And so it's not, it's not perfect. You can't always play absolutely everybody,
Yeah, I had always had a contract in high school that the parents and kids would have to sign, so the expectations were set.
What kind of contract? Can you give an example?
Just like all the rules, like school comes first, field hockey second.
and you'd have them sign it.
Yeah. Like
That's
if
good.
you're,
That's very good.
I remember a kid like saying that they were like staying after school and then come to find out they were like at the mall that day or something, so just stuff like that. No drinking. You're, teenage kids shouldn't be drinking, like, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And
Prom contract.
Who
Yeah.
signed it? To the
players and
parents sign it?
yeah.
Oh, that's great. It's a good idea.
Yeah. And then in club we send out like expectations. It's not 100. We have specific certain tournaments that like at the top level, playing time's never equal. At the, middle level, developmental level, then
Yeah.
it's still not equal, but it's pretty equal.
A little bit more balanced.
Yeah.
As far as youth sports go, and I know that you know a little bit. I mean, Carrie, you have one that's still doing youth sports, and you deal with youth sports with that. But how do you look at, what do you think youth sports are? How are they different from, I mean, even 10 years ago? I mean, they're so different from when we are. But do you think that youth sports intensity is making it harder for you at the older levels?
No, that's a good perspective. I just like I would say that it's more positive than negative where youth sports have developed from when we were younger. Like I wish there were this many opportunities when I were younger.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just feel like winning has become so important for so many parents. And it's just not the full picture. It's not the only thing that matters. And then it's, parents being obsessed with like their kid being the best. But then when they are the best, it's like, oh, we got to club hop to another one because my kid can't be the best. I think that's a perfect opportunity for your kid to go into a role of like being a leader and evolving there. I recently had a college coach say, like the best thing that can happen to a college athlete is that they become the best athlete on their team. And then what happens then? You're going to transfer to another school? Like, I hope not. Like, I hope you would stay there and, be like the biggest impact that you could be.
But nowadays, that's what you do. You with the NIL and everything, you're leaving.
Crazy.
How is NIL in field hockey? Is that a big deal? Are people jumping schools like that?
I don't think as much as other sports, but it is, yeah, it does happen. It does happen.
I don't think they jumped for NIL though. Do you think it's for like NIL money, or do you think they just, like you were talking about, transferring?
Are they just going to be at a bigger school type thing?
I think transfers, like I would say like 80% of transfers for field hockey anyways are more like, I'm not getting playing time. I want to go somewhere where I can be an impact. Which that one I wouldn't disagree with.
Are you seeing the same thing with youth sports, Melissa? Like as youth sports intensity, is it making it harder for you to coach when they get to the high school level, or has it been a great thing?
I think it's been a good thing in terms of, I'm thinking in particular, the league that like my youth program plays in Foxboro in the Commonwealth League. It's just been getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which is fantastic. Like growing the game is so important. And as the league has grown, the competition has just skyrocketed from like when the Commonwealth League was developed till now, and it's only been what, five years or so, and it's just gotten huge in terms of the competition. So you know, iron sharpens iron. So I think that in that sense, it's been a positive for my program, because I'm having more girls who come through my youth program who, you know, if we get completely smoked by a team, they don't like that, you know, and so you'll have a handful, not every single one of them. Like some of them are just in it because they just want to be on a team and they want to, you know, learn a different sport or a new sport, or their friends are on it. So maybe some don't get that fire in them, but some end up like joining clubs or doing more in the off season because they don't want to get smoked by, you know, like the Walpoles and everything. So truly. And so I think that it's been, you know, in field hockey, you know, in particular, it's been a while since I've had my boys been in youth sports, but I can see in field hockey, I think it's been a good thing. And like Carrie said, the opportunities are like endless now. You know, there's so many opportunities for these kids to, not even just in field hockey, in most sports, you know, look at lacrosse as well. But in field hockey, there's, I think in like I don't know, in less than a 10-year span, maybe in like a 6-year span, we went from having maybe two clubs in the area to choose from to now there's
11 in Massachusetts.
Wow.
What is it?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it blew up. Like it just, now there's so many to choose from.
Wow.
That it's great, you know, and there's so many different, you know, options within those clubs. So I think it's been a really positive in that sense. Yeah.
Especially for field hockey, because for so long there really wasn't a
Yeah,
lot of feeder
anything.
programs. You know,
Yeah.
you weren't getting it till middle school.
Yeah.
Until like probably like 5 years ago, you were getting it a little bit younger. And Carrie, your camp, but like that was like nothing around.
Yeah, I
You
feel
know?
like our daughters were going to your camp, there was nothing else around.
Yeah.
I
There's
mean, we would have chosen anyways, but like, you know.
Naturally.
I read an article recently though that like girls lacrosse numbers are down.
Yes, I saw that too.
Yeah. And I was like
Really?
reading the comments to see if like people, you know, had reasons for it. The common theme in the thread seemed to be like that it's just getting so competitive that girls are getting discouraged.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting because field hockey numbers have been down the
Skyrocket.
last couple of years at the high school level. But
Yeah.
I was interested in asking you, Carrie, do you think that the numbers have gone down in club? Like, are you finding like there's
Well,
less girls going out for club, or do you think there's just as many and it's just the high school programs that are losing numbers?
I mean, we're still a newer club. So when, you know, Haley's was the first year that we started and now she's graduated. So she was our first graduating class. So we keep saying that like the numbers were like low because at our older girls, because if you're not going to go on, field hockey is like a tough sport because if you play in the fall. So if you're not going to play on in college, then you're done after the fall and you're not going to come out in spring. So right now is our spring season and like we only have 2 seniors because we only have 2 that are going on.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes
You know,
sense.
so the U19 numbers are low, but we have the biggest number that we've ever had at our U10 level this year. We have like 48 coming
Are
out.
they just
Wow.
leaving the
Yeah.
sport and not going to another sport, or are they're just done with all sports and all? You know what I mean? Like, are they?
Yeah.
What are they just quitting and not playing any sport?
Like they're done with club after their fall season ends. Like, you know.
No, I mean I don't mean that. I mean like because the
You
numbers
mean the
are
numbers in
down
field
now.
hockey?
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't know, because
I don't know.
volleyball numbers exploded.
really.
Yeah, big time. And
yeah, volleyball has taken off, which is in competition with field hockey in the fall. So
Okay.
Yeah.
I have been to tournaments, football tournaments, and seen volleyball, and it's like they're all
crazy.
over the place. There's like 20 gyms, and it's packed full of volleyball players, and
Yeah.
I don't ever remember seeing that before.
Yeah, I mean, Foxboro is a very, very small town, as you guys know, and they had I want to say it was like 2 or 3 years ago, they had 68 girls go off for the team.
Oh, I heard that too. Yeah.
68. And they cut, you know, majority. I want to say, I have no,
Wow.
I don't
Cutting
even know
people.
what you have on the court. I think it's like 12, but
No, in
yeah,
volleyball?
it's
Isn't it
discouraging.
5?
What's that?
6, isn't it? Like 5 or 6 for
6
volleyball?
on
I
each
don't know.
side, right?
I don't know. I said 12.
12. 6 on each side. It's 6 on each side. I got you. I got you, Bodie. I got you.
So that number's even bigger, though. If you only need
Yeah.
6 people on the court, then
Yeah, you probably need
that number's
6 on
incredible.
the bench, 6 on the court. Yeah.
I know I lost players to
Wow.
volleyball. So,
I mean, maybe
yeah.
it's too like the cost of sports, the cost of youth sports, and then what sports are less expensive by the time you get to a certain level to overall, as far as like lacrosse and field hockey, those are sports that the equipment's more expensive, the stick is more expensive, the comparison to like buying a soccer ball or buying a volleyball. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
and knee pads, like and in youth sports, I mean, it's some things that we've like learned as we've been like doing research is that youth sports is a $1 billion business. It is recession proof. It's like one of the things that even in a recession, people will still spend money on their kids' activities if their kids are enjoying them and like to do them. But we also know that kids are dropping out of sports, usually around middle school. And then, so there's still a lot of research out on why and different demographics play a part in that. But I feel like it's just an ongoing conversation. The more parents know and hear from coaches and athletes about their experiences and programs like that they might not have been exposure to, like field hockey, like your clubs and stuff like that. It's just, it can get more kids into things that they might not have thought were around them. So
If parents could just understand how much work and effort and time goes into coaching. Like every year at the banquet, I thank my boys for sharing their mom with 40 other girls because they do. And Carrie, you know that too. Like you're shared with so many other girls. Your kids share you with these girls, and I say that all the time because, and when you have a full-time job, and then you're not just fitting coaching in, you're like you've made it ingrained in your and part of your life in that fall season and leading up to it, and so it's like the long hours and not even just like the actual hours of like putting together planning. It's like it lives in my head, like the amount of time I spend thinking about
Yeah, I lose
games
sleep over
and
it.
yeah, right? Like everything, like players. The amount of time I think about players and where I can put them and are they in the right spot? Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing right by this player by making her play a back and she wants to be a forward. Like it just there's so much time and effort and energy spent that I don't want to say it's a sacrifice for my family.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love it. But it's a sacrifice for my family,
Yeah.
and I wish that was more understood.
Yeah.
I
Like
think.
I love the tournaments. I live for them. Like I live to compete and coach in those games, but you travel for a weekend away from I don't have my daughter in it anymore. So I'm leaving,
yeah.
Now during spring season traveling to tournaments, and Nate's got games at home and he's like, "Why? Like you're not coming to my games again?" Like
Yeah.
it's crushing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's hard to balance it all.
I have another question for both of you. Why did you decide to coach? Like, what made you want to be a coach?
I didn't know, and I was undecided in college for 2 years. I had no idea what I wanted to do except for coach. Like I knew I wanted to coach. So someone was like, "Be a teacher." So I did the education path and became a teacher so I could coach.
Did you have a coach that helped shape that for you?
I would like to say yes, but
It could be a parent.
yeah, my dad, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
I could see your dad
My dad, you know
being
what?
that.
My dad coached, so it was co-ed basketball back in the day, so I loved being on my dad's team. He was like so competitive and but like so good to the kids and encouraging and positive, but like so intense too at the same
Yeah.
time.
I love that.
And
I love that.
then there was baseball and softball. And I would go like my mom was president of Little League. Like we would live at the fields. And when my brother's games were over, like I'd get out, my dad would throw balls to me, and like I'd hit them over the fence, and people would be like, "Why isn't she playing?" And the opposite with me, Melissa, my dad, like my mom, like wore the pants in the house, and she was like, "Nope, there's girls sports for girls, and there's boys sports for boys," and she wouldn't let me play Little League. And so I
Oh,
played in this stupid softball league that was awful. It wasn't like, and like still mad to my mom at this day. Like, why weren't you president of softball? Because it was shit fields. We had shit uniforms.
I feel like I
And the
heard the
team,
story. Did you say the story at the Hall of Fame?
yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like
And it
I've heard the
wasn't
story.
competitive. And now I have a niece who plays baseball competitively. Like she travels around the United
Oh,
States.
wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's so awesome.
And I'm super jealous.
That's
But I
awesome.
think that's why I also fell in love with field hockey because in the United States, like boys can't play, and so I couldn't be compared.
Hmm.
You
Oh, I
know?
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know immediately that I wanted to coach. It happens. I got laid off from my first job out of college, and my whole office got laid off. And so there was like 400 of us looking for jobs at the same time. It was just a kind of a crappy time. And I was told in August I was going to be laid off. And I was like, oh God, what am I going to do? And I was like, well, I remember thinking, well, they say like do what you're passionate about. What am I passionate about? Am I passionate? I was in marketing at the time. I'm like, am I passionate about marketing? Like, it's not field hockey. Hmm. Well, I'm passionate about field hockey. I mean, I don't know, maybe I should coach. That would be cool if I coached. Literally, I remember this, and I went on the MIA website and was like, I think that's where you go if you were gonna like look for a coaching job. And Foxboro High School was listed. And I thought, this is not a coincidence. Foxboro High School, I played at Mansfield, Hockomock League, I know it well. Like this just can't be a coincidence that this
Yeah.
job is available. I applied, I put together like a field hockey resume, sent it in. I got a call, I interviewed, and I was walking out of Foxborough High School to my car and got the call from the principal saying that they were giving me the coaching job. And it all happened so fast. And I remember thinking like, yeah, I'll do this for a couple of years.
Wow.
25 years
Yeah.
later.
So it was kind of one of those things that it all happens and you know, the way it happens. And then I had wished I wasn't in marketing and then I was a teacher because it would have been so much just easier in terms of like teachers' hours to coach. So I kind of built my next like career move around coaching and did that for, you know, I was lucky. I worked for a phenomenal family that allowed me to leave early during the fall to coach. And I coached their daughters. So that was kind of how it all happened. So it was pretty awesome. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you because I think I had mentioned this to you guys or I'd maybe referenced it if you had seen it. It was that Maryland coach yelling at the basketball player in her face, and she uh the player mentioned that she wanted to be coached hard and that she went there to be coached hard, and they appear to have like a really great relationship, um and that she needed that as coaches. um like I've seen you, Carrie, you were with my girls when they were little, so it was different, but I have seen Bodie, like, she's called our daughter by her first and middle name on the field, and I like love it. And like even the jokes I've seen your players play on you at the same sense, and it could be like literally 5 minutes before you have them on that line, under the lights, like sprinting, and then like you have your arm around them, or you're like, I think we both tripped Cam at
Yes.
the one night game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so how do you figure out that relationship and that rapport with you and I've seen Bodie especially do it really well, and Carrie, you had to have done it well to get your daughter at the level coaching her where she's you've been able to like push her to a point of greatness, to play at the top level. It's it's a very, very like unique and hard balance to pull out greatness out of players and know when to push forward and when to pull back to like let them become something they might not even know they are. You know what I mean? When you see something that like how have you guys figured out, because you both have done it?
Yeah, it's definitely building the relationship and knowing the child and know like there's certain kids that just have to be coddled. Yeah, I'm still all about tough love, but there's some kids that you got to wear the baby gloves, and there's some kids that you can, really tell them how it is,
Yeah.
and that like makes them work harder. And there's parents that appreciate the different ways that the kids that can handle it. I think the parents appreciate that.
I think that's part of growing in coaching too, like understanding that um, you can't paint with a broad brush. There are some players that will, think about that Maryland coach. Like if he was screaming at everyone's face, it'd be a disaster. But there are certain players he could do that to, and she was one that, appreciated that or wanted that coaching. But I think that, I look back at when I first coached and thought that, I remember being a very young coach and coaching, not maybe one way, but feeling like, well, this is, my coaching style, and girls would adapt. But it's changed, it's evolved, kids have evolved, and coaching, I think, and the sport has evolved. And so what I've found now is in the last many years, you can't paint with a broad brush. You can't coach every single kid the same way, because some require different styles than others, and you get the most out of that player by understanding them, and you don't understand them unless you build a relationship with them. And I think part of the philosophy that I've kind of lived by with coaching is if you're going to ride them hard, you have to love them hard too. You just can't ride a player and expect the most out of them and really, kind of be tough on them and only ever tough. Like there's, that you have to show them that like funny side, softer side, like, fun side too. You really have to show them both. You have to love them hard and kind of coach them hard. I think that's, I don't know, that's what's worked for me.
Makes you human.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the short way of explaining that.
That was good though. That was good. Because I mentioned that, and I wanted to ask that about you, because I do get what you're saying about not about coaching hard and loving hard, and I see that, but I also wonder sometimes when we coddle, and especially when they're younger, and I've heard, old kids when they get to college say this about other players on their teams. They stayed in systems that they were coddled. So then when they got to a system that was like more about the buy-in and more about the adjustment and more about a system, especially a system that has already proved to win, that's a much harder adjustment when they get there, because they've had coaches that have adjusted. A lot of times when they've had coaches that have parent them or parents, friends coach them, that adjustment part is a lot harder, because now there's a system that you have to like assimilate to. You know what I mean? And that sometimes has to happen before the relationship happens, right? I think. I mean, what I've noticed, but I'm not a coach. But I mean, I just wonder if like sometimes the expectations or why kids are so quick. I mean, I know NIL is a thing, but kids just leave when things are hard,
Right.
when they're not getting playing time, when that
And
because
now there's so many opportunities they can now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I still try to like lay down the law in like that first week that we start out, and I can go back from being like the happy coddle mom. You know, we were just at a U12 game this past weekend and I did not like what I was seeing. So at halftime, like I had 2 minutes before the whistle, like it's a quick halftime. And I just laid down the law. And then, 30 seconds later, those that were left on the bench, I'm putting my arm around them like, I still love you. But like, come on, we're here to win. This isn't, we're not in Disney. Let's go.
All right, so we have every episode in MicdinPod, we have a segment called the orange moment. And so now the orange moment is, you all remember when you were younger and your parents would bring orange wedges to the games and you would eat orange wedges at halftime and the other team comes over and everyone's enjoying it and we don't care about the score. We're just out there having fun. But at some point there is a moment and there's a lesson and there's a shift in everything that now the oranges are gone and now it's getting serious. It's time to like play ball. And we want to know what your orange moments were.
I'd have to say the first time that I ever got like cut from something, I think I don't know, it just made like, I mean, I played varsity field hockey in 8th grade. I made varsity basketball as a freshman and softball. And I don't know, just everything always just came naturally. And I made nationals one year and we were in North Carolina and I got dehydrated and it was like puking and so I couldn't really compete. I think we played for 3 days and I was able to play one of the days, but I thought I played so well. And then announcements came for Junior Olympics and I just saw like friends standing up and going up and getting their tickets and I was just sitting there in the benches. I cried for a long time. And I remember a coach came up to me, who ended up playing like in the Olympics and she was just like, I don't agree with this. Like you should be out there. And it just put like a fire under me to work so much harder. And started playing more in the backyard and signing up for extra things. My grandmother would give my mom money for me to do like these extra things because we just couldn't afford it. Just lit a fire under me and it humbled me, I think I needed it. It was a good thing. But I still remember it today and I always use it like when my kids haven't made teams. I've always brought that moment up and I've done it with kids that maybe I've cut from teams and stuff. Have had that moment with them. Like it happens to all of us. It's a part of life. It's a good life lesson.
Oh, that's good. That's very good.
I like that one.
That was a good one. I don't know. I'd have to say, I think this might be interesting. I can think of two moments, but the one I think that was really maybe pivotal for me was in college, which is later. I know. My sophomore year of college, I had a phenomenal freshman year. And then just, I don't know, it was like this sophomore slump. And I remember feeling just kind of lost my confidence. I just remember feeling like, God, if I touch the ball, I just feel like I'm not going to do anything right. And it's funny talking about it because it's been so long ago and I vividly remember that. And I remember calling home and just complaining to my mom. And I must have been complaining a lot, like every time I called home, like just about like, oh, I'm just not, I feel like I'm not good enough right now and I'm not doing it. And it, everything stinks and it sucks. And I was so negative about it, about my experience. And I remember my mother saying, Melissa, then quit. And I was like, what? Excuse me? And she's like, then quit. I'm tired of listening to you.
I love this. I love this.
She was literally, I remember hanging out being like, that was so mean, but it was so right. It was that moment I remember thinking like, okay, yeah, I think she might be right. Like, I guess I must have been complaining a lot instead of doing more. And this was now our spring season. It was like my fall season had come. This was the spring hockey going into summer. And I remember sitting in my bed and going, yeah, you know what? Cut it out, Melissa. Like, get it together. You are better than this. And you wasted a lot of time complaining. And I remember getting our summer workout and I just worked my tail off, And we got a new assistant coach, which is Patty Bosio, that year. And I remember Patty coming up to me and, I like crushed preseason of my junior year, just felt so confident, so in shape. Like everything was just hitting on all cylinders, and it wasn't by accident. It was because I had made that change and I was stopped feeling sorry for myself and kind of being like, this sucks. It was just, do something about it. And I remember Patty coming up to me, my assistant coach, and she was new, and she said, I've been watching you. You've got something to prove, and I love it. And we ended up being, the season was outstanding, and you went to the Final Four that year, and so everything ended up being phenomenal. I felt so awesome that I made the decision that I did. When just a year before, I was like, oh my God, am I in the right place? Did I make the right decision? And it was totally that moment where my mother was like, shut up, Melissa. Just shut up. Looking back now, we've laughed about it too a lot, but it was exactly what I needed. Like, stop feeling sorry for yourself. What have you done? Have you done enough? Are you doing enough? And I'm like, yeah. Yeah. But I remember thinking like, did I do enough? And I, just like Carrie said, I use that when I have players who might be, kind of feeling down or feeling sorry for themselves if they're not, doing as well or whatever. And I'm like, I've been there. I understand it, but the only one who can do this is you. You've got to pull yourself up. And so it's a good lesson, and being able to walk in those shoes, just like Carrie was saying, I think it really speaks volumes when you can get on their level and go, I've been there, so but you've got to turn it around. This is your opportunity.
Yeah,
I like
that's
it.
good.
Yeah.
You both kind of just talked about a shift in your mindset. That your mindset, you did the physical, tangible things that you could do, but your mindset, those moments gave you a lesson, and you made the decision to change your mindset. You know what I mean? Which then
Yeah.
changed your course of action. To improve it. So I think that's
Yeah,
and
and you didn't feel sorry for yourself. You said, you know what, like I need to work, and
I definitely did for like a solid 2 hours, and then
and that's
but then
valid. And
ultimately you went to work and you put into work.
Well, apparently for me, it was more than 2 hours because my mother was annoyed.
oh, you guys are awesome. This is great.
this was fun.
Yeah,
This
this is
is
good.
good.
This is
This
good.
is
I think that there's a lot of people that could learn from two people that been to the top, Final Fours and ranked in the top 5 in the country in college. That's crazy. Like we don't see that a lot, especially in this area. We don't see that a lot in other sports. There's not a lot of basketball players that can say, oh, like we were in the Final Four in this area. So for you two to be on the show in the Northeast and be top 5 in the country is crazy. So we really appreciate you guys coming on and telling your story and being like trying to give some advice to some of these up and coming athletes. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah, and parents, and talking about it from a parent's perspective, and helping parents understand the coaching perspective. Where can we find you guys on social media? What do you guys want to promote as far as your club, the rec? Like, what can we put out there when we?
Yep, Premier Feel Like a Club on Instagram.
I would say the my rec program, like through the rec department and through Foxboro Field Hockey on Instagram.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you guys spending the time with us. Thank you for getting locked in with MicdIn.
Thanks.
Thanks for being locked in with MicdinPod.